Alright guys, so there's more Rome 2 content on the way. Can't say I was expecting that on this Tuesday of news days, but the Desert Kingdoms Culture Pack is coming to Total War on March 8th. And I'm in a glass case of emotion, mixed feelings on this one for sure. On the one hand, people have been asking for a Desert Kingdoms pack since basically a month after the game first launched. North Africa and the Arabian Peninsula weren't incredibly well fleshed out then, and they certainly aren't now, and it would have added a lot of variety and different playstyles to the game. To be fair, Rome 2 has never quite struggled like Attila did with unit variety. There's a much bigger selection of factions and playstyles to choose from when compared to something Germanic during the fall of the Roman empires. But those African and Arabian subcultures absolutely add something tangible to the game, and there's no denying that back then there was some desire for them, and there certainly will be now as well. On the other hand, unlike Empire Divided, which added an entirely new setting and dynamic with a new campaign map and a different period of history, this culture pack will be a part of the vanilla Rome 2 campaign, something that many of us have already sunk hundreds if not thousands of hours into. I will say, before we get into the information about each faction, on the surface, it's not driving my hype levels into overdrive. It's the same reason it's kind of hard for me to get back into Shogun 2 right now, despite absolutely adoring the game. I played the absolute crap out of it, experienced much or all of what it had to offer, and when I wake up in the morning, I don't necessarily have a raging desire to jump back in and play a game that I've already put 1,500 hours into. At the end of the day, continuing to support a game like Rome 2 is still a good thing for the series overall. It's a much better alternative than jumping ship and abandoning a game like Relic did with Dawn of War 3. Now obviously Rome 2 sold much better and remains to this day one of the best-selling historical strategy games of all time, but continuous support, even 5 years after launch, means more free content for the game, means more patching for the game, and means more revenue that can hopefully be funneled back into the numerous projects CA currently have running, provided it turns a profit, of course. There has to be interest for it. But while I think this move is absolutely a good thing for the series overall, I was about to say great, it's not a great thing, it's a good thing for the series, and could even be a great piece of news for games like Warhammer, in that perhaps CA could take this as a blueprint and continue to support that universe, the Warhammer series, down the line as well, years down the line. That doesn't mean that I have to be incredibly excited for it either, and I'll say that I'm not. But let's take a look at what is actually being offered here, because ultimately that's what's going to determine whether many of us choose to pick up the DLC or not. So, 4 new factions are on the way. The Kingdoms of Kush, 420 Blaze It, Saba, and Nabatea fall under the African and Arabian subcultures, while Masaesyli are Numidian. As expected, new units, building chains, technology trees, and mechanics will help to differentiate their playstyles from other factions. Now, they all share the Desert Warriors and deep-rooted traditions traits, with a bonus to morale in desert battles, and bonus income from agriculture, and a penalty to research rate. The Kingdom of Kush is all about trading and economic power, with a strong base of resources including ivory, exotic animal pelts, iron and gold, and an affinity for Hellenistic and Egyptian culture, and a focus on slaves, with bonus income and reduced public order penalties based on their worker population. It will be an archer-based faction with cheaper and better range units. The Nabateans were pioneers of advanced construction techniques, the first to use cement extensively, and a relatively progressive and literate society. On an important crossroads for the spice trade between the Arabian kingdoms and the Mediterranean, they can recruit Hellenic-themed units for battle, have a bonus to both trade and diplomacy, and can actually use Roman tactics and formations because of their friendship, which I imagine means Tetsudo will be a core component of their infantry tactics. Saba have armored camels, which in and of itself is pretty damn cool, and those will make up the majority of their cavalry force, and they have a unique building type based off the Great Dam of Meroe, which provides faction-wide bonuses to agriculture and fertility, and can be upgraded with technologies, but requires upkeep to maintain. They have a heavy reliance on mercenary units, and have many chariot and javelin troops, which form the core of their standing armies. And finally, the Masaesyli are a Numidian Berber tribe, with a heavy focus on cavalry and desert ambushing, which prevents enemy armies from replenishing casualties while in the same province. And they have a pretty interesting start position as well, located near Carthage, with an affinity to both Punic and Latin culture. So from what we've seen so far, there are certainly some very cool looking units, particularly a berserker type looking unit from Meroe that is likely associated with their war god Abidemak, a lion-headed deity worshipped in Nubia and closely tied to the Meroe kingdom as well. But there are armored camels, some female fighters in leopard skin, and some elephant and side chariot variants as well. Not a whole lot of info on the unit roster front just yet, but that should be forthcoming pretty soon. There will actually be some additional free content coming as well. Following in Zenobia's footsteps, Cleopatra and Tuta, Queen Regent of the RDA tribe in Illyria, are now fully playable as faction leaders and generals, along with custom visuals and voiceovers. Important female characters have been added to all campaigns and across all factions, and in some cultures, women can only serve a social or political role, while in others, like the RDA tribe, women will be generals and can fight alongside men. For cultures where women can't hold public office, there is a special cursus honorum path that follows the increase in behind-the-stage political influence of women, and there are special events, like dilemmas, that portray the trials and tribulations associated with them coming to power in ancient times. Usually, there are traditions and prejudice standing in the way of those women, and such events allow the player to recruit a female leader or gain some other bonuses from parties that would oppose such a decision. Faction leaders of opposite gender can now marry as a diplomatic action, significantly strengthening the relations between the two factions, and the basic marriage action now has political implications. Alongside all that, I'm sure we can also expect some additional patching, but what exactly that will all entail, we aren't quite sure on just yet. What I'm personally very curious about is whether adding these new factions will actually prevent people from playing them in a modded capacity. And I think the answer to that is probably and unfortunately yes. Without adding many new assets, mechanics, or animations, it is kind of a bit problematic, right? Because people have had access to these factions in DEI and the more popular Rome 2 mods for years now. And if someone's in a modded campaign for the faction, already with access to the reskin units modders have created, there's no way in hell they're going to be encouraged to buy this DLC when they boot up the campaign and find out they can no longer load it after the patch. Now certainly, that will be a small subset of people, and as I've already stated, I do think it's significantly better to continue supporting a popular game in the series, whether it gets me pumped or not, whether I'm excited for it or not. But it will definitely be very important for CA to outshine the modders here, who have already made these factions available, and available for a very long time, if they want people to buy it. Now the question is, would I buy this race pack myself? Not at the moment, not without seeing the rosters and what they will offer, and obviously unit rosters are a very important component of Total War games, so that's still a big chunk of the piece of the pie that we're missing. I'll watch some gameplay soon and come to a better understanding of what's coming in this culture pack, but objectively, this will add less content than Empire Divided, albeit at a cheaper price, and the Aurelian campaign still only gave me like 10 or 12 hours of additional playtime, which, in the scheme of things, ain't half bad for the dollar, but not enough to justify spending $8 to $10 for me personally. Now, I don't think the pricing itself is an issue. I mean, I imagine many of us spend more than that on lunch pretty frequently, and I'll eat that in like 15 minutes, where Total War campaigns with multiple factions could easily put you over the 20-hour mark. So for $1 per hour of entertainment perspective, which some people don't like using that measure, I do. I think if I'm getting 20 hours worth of playtime out of a game, and it's part of my entertainment budget, then hour per dollar of entertainment seems like a good measure for me. But honestly, I am a little bit Rome 2'd out. I think it's a solid game. Has been for a while. Certainly at launch it was pretty garbage, but I think they supported it well over time, and I think the game has plenty to offer, but I don't think any of these factions will encourage me to play through the entirety of another Rome 2 campaign. Will I try it out for myself and make a few videos on it if CA decides to give it to me for free? Yeah, of course I will. It'll at the very least be good for trying out the start of a new campaign, seeing if it gets me pumped and excited, and it'll allow me to get some multiplayer games in as well. But yeah, I cannot say I'm incredibly pumped for it, and when I'm not excited for games, I typically don't play them a massive amount, no matter how good they are. It's a problem I've had with games like Crysis and like The Witcher, and others that I've considered picking up at bargain basement prices. Despite knowing they're really incredibly good games, I just know I'm not going to play them a whole lot, because I don't have that hype train running throughout my entire body, burning from the inside. And yes, guys, by the way, I do know that The Witcher is amazing, and I will play it one day, I promise. But yeah, it's certainly going to offer some interesting start positions and some unique playstyles, and it's a culture pack that people have asked for quite a bit in the past. But at the end of the day, I'm curious what you guys think. Has it come too late for you to care? What did you guys think of Empire Divided, first and foremost? I mean, did you feel like that added a lot to the game? What do you think this will add? Do you think it's going to be enough? Are you interested? Do you think you'll purchase it? Are you waiting to know more, or are you going to give a hard pass on this one? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. Indie Pride, signing out for now.